we're trying to finish this peony window, and it's taken a long time. We've got the top, we have a lot done on the bottom, so if you combine the two, we're at the halfway point, maybe a little bit more. It will get nice and streamy. That's good. The flux helps the solder flow, and it also takes away any oils from your fingers, which interferes with the solder binding. I have put flux on some of these copper lines here. You see some of the soldering is already done. We've got a little patch here so I don't accidentally solder a place where we've got a piece missing that hasn't been copper foil taped. Sometimes we say the iron is slow, and that just means it's got too much oxidation on it. The soldering iron has got some black spots on it, but I think most of it is still pretty good for soldering. I didn't want to stop to condition it. It's a tin silver solder. It should bead up like that, like it's doing, which is kind of nice. We don't want it to be sloppy at all. We don't want extra little bits. Some of the solder, like this area here, looks a little grayer. It's just oxidized a little bit. When we're done with this whole side, it's going to get a good scrubbing and a polish, which is a little bit of a wax conditioner for the edge, and keeps the glass nice and bright. Takes off all of the little oily remnants of flux, as well as any tarnish that's on the solder, as this solder has got a little tarnish on it. I'm going to try and get the whole border soldered. And you see the black oxidation here? That keeps the heat from transferring from the iron down to the work. So I'll need to condition this using the sal ammoniac block and silver up that soldering iron so it's really as bright silver as the solder that's coming off of it now. And then it will be very, very hot. It'll transfer the heat. So I'm looking for silvery parts on this soldering iron, which is not my first choice of how to solder, but I'll condition this soldering iron. We're going to make sure that we're putting in as many hours as possible. Thank God Carole is here to help. David will help out too. We'll still need to solder the back side of this, which I'm assuming will be maybe 6 hours between soldering. Hello, Molly. Between soldering and washing and polishing. The soldering iron is about 500 degrees Fahrenheit. We definitely don't want to touch this. I'm using a flux remover. I've finished about 9/10 of the window, peony window, and now I'm cleaning it. So I'm going to put some flux remover on it, and then I'm going to sprinkle some water on it. Warm water. I've got a little scrub brush, and I'm going to scrub the dickens out of it. The flux is a little oily. It eventually makes the solder look dull and tarnished, and this really cleans up all that oily flux. I've already done the top part of the window. You can see how sparkly the solder looks, and now we have to wipe it down. Right away we see a really clean, bright, beautiful product there. Once this really dries, then I'm going to polish it. I've already polished the top third of the window, but it looks really great compared to the work surface, which had lots of grit on it and little bits of dust stick to the oily flux after the solder has been done in that area. What an improvement. The polish will go on and get buffed with a brush because a rag will sort of keep catching on little tiny uneven parts. You can hear it. Okay, so the washing is done. All the soldering is done on the front and the brass edging has been put on. I am actually two size, perfectly two size, except for one corner which is 1/8 of an inch slightly longer. I hope it fits in. I bought a buffing ball for the front of my drill, and I've decided it looks great when it's polished. It's so shiny, the glass is so glossy, and now I'm going to buff around these 3D pieces. I've used a wax, a glass finishing wax, and I sprayed it on and rubbed it on with a terry cloth towel, and I let it set for about 1.5 hours until it looked slightly frosted. You know how old-fashioned glass wax worked. It sort of gets a little bit of a frost on it, and that's the glass hardening up on the surface. And then you go back with a soft cloth. This is an old piece of t-shirt, and you go back and you just gently buff it up, and it comes up to a beautiful shine. This will protect the glass. I declare the front of the Peony window done. I even etched my name into the bottom piece of glass here, which is not very prominent. You'd have to look for it, but there it is. Layer of big fat bubble wrap. Layer of printmaker's woolen blankets, because wool will not burn. It might smolder, but I don't want any hot temperatures to go through the glass and wind up melting the bubble wrap and having it stick to the front. And we're also going to cover the blankets with a layer of white paper, just so that there's brightness coming through the glass while I'm working, because that will help me visualize the finished product better. Then I have measured this for its crate,